Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Tyreek Hill trade saga has taken yet another dramatic twist, and this time the Pittsburgh Steelers have decided to step out of the race, at least for the moment. For weeks now, speculation has swirled around the league about what Miami might do with their mercurial but undeniably electric wide receiver. When rumors surfaced in the aftermath of Miami's embarrassing 33-8 loss to the Colts in Week 1, whispers quickly grew into headlines suggesting that both the Kansas City Chiefs and the Steelers were seriously eyeing a deal. Hill, who still has the speed and explosiveness to change a game in an instant, looked like the kind of high-risk, high-reward move that could alter the balance of power in the AFC. But Pittsburgh, after considering the potential fallout, has now pumped the brakes. According to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, the Steelers are concerned about the serious domestic violence allegations currently surrounding Hill. His estranged wife, Kita Vaccaro, has come forward with claims of 8 separate violent acts, some of which reportedly occurred while she was pregnant. These allegations surfaced right after Miami's Week 1 loss and immediately cast a massive shadow over any potential trade discussions. For a franchise like Pittsburgh, which has spent years trying to clean up its image and maintain a sense of stability in the locker room, the prospect of adding a star player under such a troubling cloud has become untenable. Florio's report made it clear that Pittsburgh's initial interest in Hill began before the latest round of accusations came to light. But once the story broke, it became nearly impossible for the organization to justify moving forward. At 31 years old, Hill is not only facing a possible league suspension, but he also represents a hefty financial commitment for any team that acquires him. Even for an organization known for taking bold swings when the right opportunity arises, the Steelers appear unwilling to risk both their locker room chemistry and their public reputation on a move that could easily backfire if the NFL comes down hard on the wideout. This does not mean the door is permanently closed. The NFL's trade deadline is not until November 4th, and that gives plenty of time for the picture to become clearer. If the league ultimately decides not to suspend Hill during the 2025 season, or if further developments cast doubt on the allegations, teams that backed away early may re-enter the conversation. By then, franchises in the playoff hunt may feel the reward outweighs the risk, especially if they believe they are one playmaker away from making a serious run. That said, Pittsburgh's decision signals a wait-and-see approach that other teams are likely to adopt as well. Hill's situation is made even more complicated by Miami's precarious circumstances. The Dolphins, now 0-3 and looking every bit like a team headed toward a rebuilding year, are in a position where trading assets makes sense. Hill, who is under contract through 2026, comes with a staggering $36 million in total compensation and an almost unmanageable $51.9 million cap charge next season. Florio has already reported that if Miami holds on to him through the end of this season, the most likely outcome is a release in March. That means the Dolphins have every incentive to move him now while they can still get a return. For Miami, it is a classic case of trying to salvage value before the asset depreciates completely. Despite the off-field concerns, Hill remains a dynamic weapon between the lines. Through the first 3 games of this season, he has put up 15 receptions for 198 yards and 1 touchdown. Those numbers may not scream dominance, but they are evidence that he still stretches defenses, still forces opponents to game plan around him, and still has the ability to flip the field with one explosive play. His impact cannot be measured in raw stats alone. His presence alters the geometry of the game. Teams know this, and that is why his name continues to pop up in trade chatter despite the uncertainty swirling around him. For the Steelers, the idea of pairing Hill with another potential trade target, DK Metcalf, was tantalizing. Imagine an offense where defenses had to account for Metcalf's size and strength on one side and Hill's game-breaking speed on the other. That kind of combination could instantly elevate Pittsburgh's passing attack from middling to menacing. With a defense already strong enough to keep them in most games, the addition of that kind of firepower could have made the Steelers a legitimate Super Bowl contender. It was the kind of aggressive move fans have been craving, particularly in a year where the team's offensive inconsistencies have been glaring. But the Steelers' decision to pull out, at least temporarily, underscores the complexity of the NFL's balancing act between talent and accountability. Teams want to win, but they also understand the scrutiny that comes with signing or trading for a player facing allegations of this magnitude. The league itself has struggled with this balance for years, often criticized for inconsistent discipline and for allowing stars to continue playing while investigations unfold. Pittsburgh's hesitation reflects not only organizational caution, but also an awareness of how much scrutiny comes with every roster move in the social media age. Meanwhile, for Miami, the clock is ticking. Every loss makes it more likely that they will shift into seller mode as the deadline approaches. If the Dolphins decide to cut their losses and move on from Hill, the market will be dictated not just by his talent, but by the outcome of these off-field concerns. Will a contender roll the dice in hopes of a short-term payoff? Or will the baggage scare everyone off until the off-season, when Miami may have no choice but to release him outright? That is the drama hanging over this storyline, and it ensures that Hill's name will remain at the center of NFL discussions for weeks to come. As of now, the Steelers are choosing patience. Their season, much like Miami's, will come into sharper focus over the next month and a half. If Pittsburgh emerges as a legitimate playoff threat, they may revisit the idea of making a splashy trade to fortify their offense. If not, they may pivot toward building for the future. Either way, the decision to hold back on Hill for now says as much about the team's current priorities as it does about Hill's uncertain future. In an NFL world where talent usually trumps everything, the Steelers are showing that sometimes timing and context matter just as much as raw ability. In the end, this saga is far from over. Hill remains one of the most electric playmakers in football, and as long as that remains true, teams will continue to circle, waiting for the right moment to strike. Whether that moment comes before the trade deadline, in the offseason, or not at all will depend on a tangled web of factors: on-field performance, off-field investigations, and the ever-present salary cap gymnastics that dominate front office decisions. For now, though, one thing is clear. The Steelers are out. The Dolphins are still a mess, and Tyreek Hill's NFL future is more uncertain than ever. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? The NFL never sleeps, and when the cameras are off the field, the stories that swirl around the locker rooms and the training grounds often get louder than anything that happens on Sundays. This time, the storm brewing comes straight out of the AFC East, where tempers are always hot, rivalries are deep, and the smallest spark can set an entire division ablaze. The buzz right now is centered around none other than Sauce Gardner, the young Jets cornerback who has already built a reputation as one of the boldest, most confident players in the league. Known for his swagger, his trash talk, and his undeniable skill, Gardner has once again found himself at the center of controversy. The whispers say he's been stirring the pot, sending direct shots at the Miami Dolphins, and let's just say the Miami locker room is not having it. Word is, the Dolphins roster is heated, and this could be the start of a firestorm that carries right into the season. According to the chatter that's been spreading across social media and sports radio, Sauce Gardner decided to let his mouth run a little wild, throwing shade at Miami's wide receiver core and even making not-so-subtle remarks about the team's overall toughness. The exact words vary depending on who you listen to, but the theme has been consistent. Gardner is convinced that the Dolphins aren't built to handle the kind of physical play the Jets bring, and he's letting everyone know it. Now, for a division that thrives on bad blood, this isn't exactly shocking, but the timing and the tone are what have people buzzing. We're talking about one of the most talented secondaries in football, led by a player who thrives on getting inside opponents' heads, directly taking aim at one of the league's flashiest, fastest, and proudest rosters. It's a collision course waiting to happen. Inside the Dolphins' locker room, reports suggest the mood has shifted from annoyance to outright anger. It's one thing for a rival to talk a little trash, it's part of the game. But when someone like Gardner, who has quickly become a face of the Jets' resurgence, singles you out repeatedly, it can start to feel like a declaration of war. Players like Tyreek Hill, who is never shy about speaking his mind, are rumored to be fuming, and others in the receiving corps have taken Gardner's comments as a direct challenge. Miami's roster is loaded with personalities, and when those personalities feel disrespected, they tend to fire back. The word is that during practices this week, you could hear players openly mocking Gardner, calling out his name, and even imitating his swagger. It might seem petty, but in the world of professional football, those little digs matter. They build up tension, and when the teams finally meet, every snap becomes personal. From the Jets side of things, it seems like Gardner has no interest in backing down. If anything, the chatter suggests that he sees this as part of his role, part of what makes him who he is. Ever since he entered the league, Gardner has been a magnet for attention. His style of play, combined with his willingness to speak his mind, has put him in the spotlight, and he doesn't shy away from it. In fact, he thrives on it. Sources close to the Jets say Gardner's confidence is rubbing off on his teammates, who see his bravado as a sign that this team is ready to stand toe-to-toe with anyone. They love that he's unafraid of poking the bear, even if that bear happens to be one of the most explosive offenses in football. The Jets are leaning into the identity of being gritty, aggressive, and fearless, and Gardner embodies all of it. The Dolphins, however, are not a team that takes disrespect lightly. Over the past 2 seasons, Miami has built itself into a legitimate contender, powered by speed and an offensive scheme designed to strike fear into defenses. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and company pride themselves on being unguardable, and for a cornerback, even one as talented as Gardner, to suggest otherwise is seen as a massive slap in the face. Some inside sources claim that offensive coaches are even using Gardner's comments as motivation, plastering his quotes in the locker room, reminding players every day that the Jets are questioning their toughness. That kind of bulletin board material can be dangerous, because it fuels competitive fire and turns regular season matchups into battles that feel like playoff games. And when that happens, emotions run high, mistakes get magnified, and the intensity can lead to fireworks both on and off the field. The fans, of course, are eating this up. Jets supporters are loving every second of it, rallying behind their young star and embracing the underdog mentality that has defined their franchise for years. To them, Gardner isn't just talking trash. He's defending the pride of New York, planting a flag in enemy territory, and refusing to bow down to anyone. On the other hand, Dolphins fans are fuming, calling Gardner overrated, questioning his ability to shut down elite speedsters, and promising that he'll be exposed the next time he lines up across from Hill or Waddle. Social media is a war zone, with highlight clips being thrown back and forth like weapons. Jets fans posting Gardner's lockdown coverage from last season, Dolphins fans firing back with Hill's game-breaking touchdowns. It's not just a football rivalry anymore. It's a cultural clash between two fan bases who live for moments like this. What makes this entire situation even more fascinating is the backdrop. The AFC East is shaping up to be one of the toughest divisions in the league, with every team believing they have a real shot to make noise. The Bills still sit at the top, but cracks have started to show, and both the Jets and Dolphins are hungry to take over. Every game matters, every storyline matters, and the mental battle is just as important as the physical one. Gardner knows that, and by poking the Dolphins, he's doing more than just stirring the pot. He's trying to get inside their heads, make them emotional, and throw them off their game. The question is, will it work or will it backfire? Because if the Dolphins take the field with vengeance in their hearts, Gardner could find himself facing an offense that's playing with extra fire. And in the NFL, that can be dangerous. As the whispers grow louder, some analysts are already predicting that the next Jets-Dolphins matchup will be circled in red on every schedule. It won't just be another divisional game. It'll be a showdown with pride, respect, and bragging rights on the line. Players will remember the words, the taunts, the disrespect. Coaches will remind their teams of what was said. Fans will pack the stadiums ready for a war. And Gardner, whether he realizes it or not, has painted a massive target on his back. If he plays like the all-pro corner he believes he is, he could cement his legend as a fearless competitor who took on the league's fastest offense and held his ground. But if he slips, even just once, you can bet the Dolphins will let him hear about it, and the highlight reels will run for weeks. For now, it's all talk, all rumor, all speculation. But in the NFL, talk has a way of manifesting into reality. Sauce Gardner has thrown the first stone, and the Dolphins have caught it. The question is, what happens next? Will this escalate into a full-blown feud that defines the season, or will cooler heads prevail and keep it as just another example of pre-game chatter? One thing is certain, This rivalry just got a whole lot hotter, and when these two teams meet, you'd better believe the entire football world will be watching. In a league built on drama, this is exactly the kind of storyline that turns Sundays into must-see TV. So buckle up, because if the rumors are true, this fire is only beginning to burn. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.